Hello Year 8 and welcome to week 4 of your online learning. I hope you have all had a lovely weekend. Okay, right, so let's make a start with this week's lesson. Alright, so before we start, okay, so try and find yourself a nice quiet place that you can work in. It could be your dining room, it could be your bedroom, it could be snuggled up on your sofa, as long as you can concentrate on your work. Okay, make sure that you have all your equipment ready and check your instructions. Okay, I also would like to add that we as teachers love to see all your amazing work. All right, so could you please make sure that you send your work. Okay, I would do this as your very first job of the day. Okay, you can take photographs of it, you can download it and send it that way. Okay, but please make sure, then we can give you some feedback and we can also put some points on Sims for all your hard work and effort. Okay, right, so last week we had a look at chapter 7 of Holes. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is I would like to go through some answers to the comprehension questions that I gave you last week. Okay, so if you can find that in your book, all right, I'm going to go through some possible answers. Now, maybe you have something different. That doesn't matter. You may have worded it differently. It doesn't matter as long as you get the idea of the answer. Okay, so get your work ready and we'll just have a double check. Okay, you might want to add things as well. Okay, if you add things, do that with a different coloured pen. Okay, so here, all right. So our first question was, why did X-Ray claim to have his own special shovel that no one else was allowed to touch? Now, if you think about it, at the beginning they said that the hole has to be as wide and as deep as the shovel. All right, so the reason that he thinks it's shorter, okay, means that he probably doesn't have to do as much work. So this is the way that this has been answered. So he claimed that it was his own special shovel because it was actually slightly smaller than the other ones. The requirement is that the hole has to be as wide and as deep as the shovel. Okay, so X-Ray thinks that he won't have as much work to do as the other boys. Okay, question 2. Who was Madame Zeroni? Can you describe what she looks like? Okay, so the answer to this one could have been, like I said, you might have got something different. Okay, Madame Zeroni is an old Egyptian gypsy storyteller. She is dark-skinned and has a wide mouth. Because she has no left foot, she uses a wheelchair. She is a compassionate woman, and yet she's also realistic. Okay, I would like you actually to pause the video and I would like you to find out what the word compassionate means and realistic. Alright, so you have got two words there. I would like you to pause the video now before we move on to question 3 and find out what those words mean. Okay, so we're going to come back to those two words when we've finished this exercise. I'm going to find out what they mean. Okay. Okay, question 3. Why did Madame Zeroni not think Myra Menke would be a good wife to Elia Yilmaz? Alright, so the answer here, again, you may have something different. As long as you're on the right lines, that's fine. Okay, so Madame Zeroni said that Myra's head was as empty as a flower pot. She said that she could push a plough and milk a goat, but Ellie would never be able to have an intelligent conversation with her. She also said that Myra was selfish and that she would never look after Elia. It would be the other way around. Okay? And then question 4. Madame Zeroni asked Elia to make a promise. What was it? Okay, Madame Zeroni asked Elia to carry her to the mountain, to the top of the mountain, so that she could drink from the stream. Moving on to question 5. Alright, why did Elia tell Myra that she should marry Igor? Well, he realised that Myra didn't love him because she found it very hard to make a decision about who she wanted to marry. Perhaps Elia realised that Madame Zeroni was right when she told him that Myra was no good for him. Okay, question 6. What does enviously mean? Okay, so this means a little bit of dictionary work. If you haven't, okay, you can pause the video now and have a look for the word enviously. Question 7. Why does Stanley's family always blame their no good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather when something bad happens? Right? So we find out in chapter 7 that great-great-grandfather was Elia, and he never kept his promise to Madame Zeroni. This is why Stanley's family always blame him for the bad luck, okay? Remember about the curse. And then finally, what happened to Elia when he arrived in America? Okay, so the answer to that one is that Elia learned to speak English, and he met and fell in love with a girl named Sarah Miller. Alright, so well done for answering those questions. Remember, you can always add things if you've missed anything out. Well done. Okay, so I asked you to look up those 2 words. Okay, so they were compassionate and realistic. Alright, I'm hoping that you've done that activity. Okay, so compassionate, it means feeling or showing sympathy and concern for others. And the word realistic means having or showing a sensible and practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. Okay, we will come back to these 2 words very, very shortly. Okay, well done, guys. Okay, year 8. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move on to chapter 8. Okay, so your first task is to just sit and listen to chapter 8. It's only a very, very small chapter. You can either listen to me or you can mute my voice and pause the video and just read it yourself. Okay, so listen or read chapter 8, and then there will be an activity to follow that.
Chapter 8. A lot of people don't believe in curses. A lot of people don't believe in yellow spotted lizards either. But if one bites you, does it make a difference whether you believe it or not? Actually, it is kind of odd that scientists name the lizard after its yellow spots. Each lizard has exactly 11 yellow spots, but the spots are hard to see on its yellow-green body. The lizard is from 6 to 10 inches long and has big red eyes. In truth, its eyes are yellow, and it is the skin around the eyes which is red, but everyone always speaks of its red eyes. It also has black teeth and a milky white tongue. Looking at one, you would have thought that it should have been named a red-eyed lizard or a black-toothed lizard, or perhaps a white-tongued lizard. If you've ever been close enough to see the yellow spots, you are probably dead. The yellow spotted lizards like to live in holes, which offer shade from the sun and protection from predatory birds. Up to 20 lizards may live in one hole. They have strong, powerful legs and can leap out of the very deep holes to attack their prey. They eat small animals, insects, certain cactus thorns, and the shells of sunflower seeds.
Okay, year 8. So now you have listened to chapter 8 of holes, you now have a couple of tasks to complete. Okay, so first of all, write the title in your book, so chapter 8. You can also put the date as well, okay, and underline your title. Okay, so your first task. Okay, so now you've listened to this very short chapter, I would like you to think about how you would feel if you were faced with this deadly creature. Okay, so I have given you a sentence opener there, and I would like you to use 3 adjectives to describe your feelings. All right, so just pause the video and complete task 1. Okay, so task 2. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to create a fact sheet for people who are visiting Texas. Texas is the place in America where Holes is set. And I'd like you to warn them about the yellow spotted lizard. All right, so make sure that you include what they can do, how to avoid them, and what will happen if you get bitten by one of these creatures. Okay, so pause the video and do that now. You can even have a go at drawing a lizard, but remember, it's more about the information. Okay, you can go back to the page where it explains the lizard to help you. All right, so pause the video and complete task 2.
Chapter 9. Stanley stood in the shower and let the cold water pour over his hot and sore body. It was 4 minutes of heaven. For the second day in a row he didn't use soap. He was too tired. There was no roof over the shower building, and the walls were raised up 6 inches off the ground except in the corners. There was no drain in the floor. The water ran out under the walls and evaporated quickly in the sun. He put on his clean set of orange clothes. He returned to his tent, put his dirty clothes in his crate, got out his pen and box of stationery and headed to the rec room. A sign on the door said rec room. Nearly everything in the room was broken. The TV, the pinball machine, the furniture, even the people looked broken, with their worn-out bodies sprawled over the various chairs and sofas. X-Ray and Armpit were playing pool. The surface of the table reminded Stanley of the surface of the lake. It was full of bumps and holes because so many people had carved their initials into the felt. There was a hole in the far wall and an electric fan had been placed in front of it. Cheap air conditioning, at least the fan worked. As Stanley made his way across the room, he tripped over an outstretched leg. "Hey, watch it," said the orange lump on a chair. "You watch it," muttered Stanley, too tired to care. "What do you say?" the lump demanded. "Nothing," said Stanley. The lump rose. He was almost as big as Stanley and a lot tougher. "You said something." He poked his fat finger in Stanley's neck. "What do you say?" A crowd quickly formed around them. "Be cool," said X-Ray. He put his hand on Stanley's shoulder. "You don't want to mess with the caveman," he warned. "Oh, the caveman's cool," said Armpit. "I'm not looking for trouble," said Stanley. "I'm just tired, that's all." The lump grunted. X-Ray and Armpit led Stanley over to a couch. Squid slid over to make room as Stanley sat down. "Did you see the caveman back there?" X-Ray asked. "The caveman's one tough dude," said Squid, and he lightly punched Stanley's arm. Stanley leaned against the torn vinyl upholstery. Despite his shower, his body still radiated heat. "I wasn't trying to start anything," he said. The last thing he wanted to do, after killing himself all day on the lake, was to get into a fight with a boy called the caveman. He was glad X-Ray and Armpit had come to his rescue. "Well, how do you like your first hole?" asked Squid. Stanley groaned and the other boys laughed. "Well, the first hole's the hardest," said Stanley. "No way," said X-Ray. "The second hole's the lot harder. You're hurting before you even get started. If you think you're sore now, just wait and see how you feel tomorrow morning, right? That's right, said Squid. Plus, the fun's gone, said X-Ray. The fun? Asked Stanley. Don't lie to me, said X-Ray. I bet you always wanted to dig a big hole, right? Am I right? Stanley had never really thought about it before, but he knew better than to tell X-Ray he wasn't right. Every kid in the world wants to dig a great big hole, said X-Ray. To China, right? Right, said Stanley. See what I mean? Said X-Ray. That's what I'm saying. But now the fun's gone, and you've still got to do it again, and again, and again. Camp fun and games, said Stanley. What's in the box? Asked Squid. Stanley had forgotten he had brought it. Paper. I was going to write a letter to my mother. Your mother? Laughed Squid. She'll worry if I don't, Squid scowled. Stanley looked around them. This was the one place in camp where the boys could enjoy themselves. And what did they do? They wrecked it. The glass on the TV was smashed as if someone had put his foot through it. Every table and chair seemed to be missing at least one leg. Everything leaned. He waited to write the letter after Squid had gotten up and joined the game of pool. Dear Mum, today was my first day at camp and I've already made some friends. We've been out on the lake all day, so I'm pretty tired. Once I pass the swimming test, I'll get to learn how to water ski. He stopped writing as he became aware that somebody was reading over his shoulder. He turned to see Zero standing behind the couch. I don't want her to worry about me, he explained. Zero said nothing. He just stared at the letter with a serious, almost angry look on his face. Stanley slipped it back into the stationery box. Did the shoes have red X's on the back? Zero asked him. It took Stanley a moment, but then he realised Zero was asking about Clyde Livingston's shoes. Yes, they did, he said. He wondered how Zero knew that. Brand X was a popular brand of sneakers. Maybe Clyde Livingston made a commercial for them. Stanley stared at him for a moment, with the same intensity with which he had been staring at the letter. Stanley poked his finger through a hole in the vinyl couch and pulled out some of the stuffing. He wasn't aware of what he was doing. Come on, Caveman, dinner, said Armpit. You coming, Caveman, said Squid. Stanley looked around to see that Armpit and Squid were talking to him. Sure, he said. He put the piece of stationery back in the box and then got up and followed the boys out to the tables. The lump wasn't the caveman. He was. He shrugged his left shoulder. It was better than Barf Bag.
Okay, Year 8. So hopefully now you will have read or listened to Chapter 9 of Hull. Your next task is to copy this table into your books. Very, very neatly, please. Put the title, please, as well. So Chapter 9, Setting and Inference. Okay, and also put the date. Okay, Year 8. So hopefully now you will have copied that table into your books nice and neatly. Okay, so what you will see in front of you is the beginning of Chapter 9. And what this is doing, this is describing the leisure room, the recreation room, where Stanley will go after his shower. But the description of it leads us to think differently about how it is described. Okay, and what we are going to do now is we are going to have a look at the way the writer has described the setting so that we can use our inference skills. Okay, so we are going to look a little bit deeper into this text and how the language changes the way we feel about the setting. Okay, so I'm going to go through this very quickly, and we are going to pick out some key quotes, and then you're going to talk more about them in the table that you have copied into your book. Okay, so now first of all, the one thing that stands out to me first is this one. So the water ran out under the walls and evaporated quickly in the sun. Alright, so I think that's quite interesting. I like the word evaporated. Okay, and then we've also got the adverb of quickly. Alright, so what I would like you to do, if you're not sure about the word evaporated, pause the video and have a look and see if you can find out what that word means. Okay, we'll come back to that. Another thing I think is interesting is this one, where it says rec room. Now, it's actually called a recreation room. Okay, so a recreation room is somewhere where the boys will go, and recreation is as another word for leisure. Okay, and activities. Alright, but what's interesting is that the writer has had a bit of a play on this word, hasn't he? Alright, so he's used recreation, but he spelt it differently. Alright, now I think we could all safely say that we know what that word means, rec. Alright, which is interesting. Okay, and then this one here. Nearly everything in the room was broken, alright? And it's this focus on the word broken. Then you have a list of everything in that room that is broken. Okay, so that's on that one. And then next, worn out bodies sprawled. Alright, I love that word sprawled. What kind of things could we infer from that word? Alright, so that you get the image of the boys sprawled. There's no energy. Okay, they are tired. They are basically broken. Okay, and then on this one, okay, this here is massive metaphor, isn't it? It was full of bumps and holes, okay? And we get that imagery, don't we, of the surface of the lake, okay? And this is what it reminds Stanley of, alright? And it says because so many people had carved their initials into the felt, alright? This is very interesting as well. Carve their initials. Could it sort of suggest that once they have carved their initials, that never ever goes? Okay, something to think about, isn't it? Okay, so these are a few things that I have helped you pick out of this. Now you might have some different ideas. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so I would like you now to go back to your table. Alright, and you are going, I've got the first one for you, then you are going to do two of your own. So the first one I've chosen is this one, okay, and I've focused on the word evaporated. Okay, so I put my quote now, and then I have picked out my key words, and I've also put at the side which word class they are. Okay, and then in this box I have written my ideas. Alright, so it suggests hostile and forgiving, sorry, it suggests a hostile and unforgiving environment of the desert. You wouldn't survive in the intense heat, so escaping from the camp is unthinkable. The word evaporate suggests that the boys would totally disappear, never to be found again. Now, I have noticed that I haven't I done that? Okay, I need to change that, don't I, to the word verb. Okay, right, so pause the video and then you can choose 2 more quotes of your own and write down all your ideas. And that is the end of your first lesson of this week. Well done for all your hard work. Please do remember to save all your work and send it to your teacher. This way your teacher can give you some feedback, and they will be able to give you some really well earned achievement points. Okay, so well done for today and have a lovely day. See you later.